Hello, welcome to Lesson 3 on the topic of functional dimensions of agriculture. Today, we will talk about the benefits provided by agriculture beyond food and fiber production. We will focus on the economic, environmental, social, and cultural dimensions. The goal is to become aware of the multiple roles of agriculture and understand how they interconnect and collectively contribute to rural sustainability. Are you ready? So let's get started. First things first, do you know or do you remember what multifunctionality in agriculture is? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. So, as you may remember, or as you may know, multifunctionality is a concept that describes the multiple interconnected roles that farming plays. In fact, agriculture is not just food and fiber production. It is an integrated system that delivers economic, environmental, social, and cultural benefits. So we can say that agriculture contributes to the economic development, the environmental protection, the social well-being, and cultural preservation of rural systems. These four dimensions collectively create the multifunctional agriculture and are increasingly acknowledged as essential for the long-term sustainability of rural areas and the broader socio-ecological systems they support. Let's have a look at some concrete examples. Agritourism is the first one. A farm can operate as an agritourism business, offering guests rural holidays where they can discover local culinary traditions, typical food and wine products, and their production methods, as well as experience rural life. This approach provides multiple benefits: the economic one, the social one, and the cultural one. Regarding the economic point of view, agritourism generates additional income for the it generates additional income for the farm through tourism and hospitality. Regarding the social point of view, agritourism raises awareness among visitors about agro-environmental and nutritional issues, fostering connections between the urban and the rural communities. And thirdly, from the cultural point of view, agritourism preserves and promotes local traditions, culinary heritage, and cultural identity. So this is the first example. Let's have a look at the second one. The second example of multifunctionality in agriculture is carbon farming. A farm can implement practices aimed at increasing carbon sequestration in the soil and plant biomass. These practices are very useful and they can provide economic and environmental benefits. From the economic point of view, carbon farming improves soil fertility and resilience, increasing long-term agricultural productivity and reducing input costs. And from the environmental point of view, carbon farming can help mitigate climate change and enhance biodiversity. Let's now have a look at the third example. Social farming is the third example of multifunctionality in agriculture. In fact, farms can offer social and educational services promoting the inclusion and well-being of disadvantaged people. Agricultural activities thus become a tool to support vulnerable groups, provide education and opportunities, and improve community cohesion. And this is, of course, a social benefit, or like social benefits provided. And then there are also some cultural benefits. In fact, social farming can promote integration, acceptance, and respect for disadvantaged people. The fourth example I want to give you are rural festivals. So, farms can host rural festivals and celebrate agricultural traditions through reenactments, demonstrations, fairs, and community celebrations. This event can create cultural, social, and economic benefits. From the economic point of view, rural festivals attract visitors and stimulate local economies through tourism and sales of local products. Regarding the social benefits, rural festivals strengthen community ties and encourage participation across generations. Last but not least, rural festivals provide cultural benefits because they help preserving and showcasing agricultural heritage and local customs. So it is important to notice that multifunctionality is not an optional add-on. Instead, it is a foundational principle for the future of sustainable agriculture in a changing world. Recognizing this functional dimension is key to reimagining the role of agriculture in today's rapidly changing world. So we can say that multifunctionality is the key to moving forward. From helping communities adapt to climate change and preserving biodiversity to sustain rural livelihoods and maintaining cultural traditions, agriculture is now expected to meet a broad range of societal needs. Multifunctionality offers a powerful lens for evaluating and shaping farming systems that are not only productive but also regenerative, inclusive, and resilient. So now, let's take a closer look. In this chapter, we will explore the four main dimensions of agricultural multifunctionality that, as we said, are the economic, the environmental, the social, and the cultural one. In this chapter, we will be focusing on how these four dimensions interact, interconnect, and collectively contribute to rural sustainability. We begin with the economic dimension, which remains central to ensuring the viability of farms while also delivering benefits to society as a large. So, as we said, the economic function is central to ensuring farm viability. The economic dimension of multifunctional agriculture centers on its ability to ensure the viability and competitiveness of farms, while simultaneously supporting the broader rural economy. Much of world agriculture nowadays is devoted to the production of commodities. Commodities are primary, standardized, and undifferentiated agricultural products mainly produced in very large countries such as China, Russia, India, Brazil, and United States. In today's context, where global markets can be volatile and rural areas face depopulation and structural challenges, relying solely on commodity production is often not enough because it generates low incomes, high economic vulnerability, and high environmental costs. Thus, instead of focusing on producing commodities, many European farms are embracing diversification strategies, combining agricultural productions with services such as agritourism or on-farm processing or educational activities and direct sales. These multifunctional approaches increase the economic resilience of farms, especially in fragile or marginal territories, by opening new revenue streams and reducing dependence on external markets. Also, they contribute to local value chains and support rural entrepreneurship, helping to revitalize communities and create meaningful employment opportunities. By aligning farm activities with local needs and sustainable goals, multifunctionality can foster innovation rooted in place-based knowledge and practices. Here, for example, you can see a nice and concrete use of technology for biocontrol in corn production. So the economic dimensions of multifunctional agriculture centers on its potential to stabilize farm incomes, create rural jobs, and drive innovation in local economies. These are the main goals that we want to remember when we talk about the economic function of agriculture. But how can these goals be achieved? One key measure is the diversification of income sources. Diversifying income sources means expanding farm activities beyond traditional crop or livestock production to include additional business ventures. For example, hosting events, like for example, weddings, and having a farmer restaurant. Here you can see a very nice example of a farm restaurant, a vegan farm restaurant in Il Cerreto farm, a beautiful organic biodynamic farm in Tuscany. Diversification of income sources can be done also by organizing educational events for children, families, adults, but also processing on farm their own products and possibly doing direct selling, so selling farm products directly to the consumer on farm or in farmer markets. But also diversification can be done producing renewable energy. So for example, here you can see an example of agrivoltaics. By tapping into multiple income streams, farms can better shield themselves from risks such as market price fluctuation, extreme weather events, or shifting policy environments. In Europe, diversification has become a critical strategy, particularly for small and medium-sized farms that often face economic constraints. A recent study on farms in disadvantaged areas of Italy, for instance, found that those engaging in diversification through initiatives like agritourism, farm shops, or hands-on experiences for visitors were more likely to achieve stable incomes and long-term sustainability. Beyond financial benefits, diversified farming models tend to strengthen local ties, embedding farms more deeply into the surrounding economy and community. By offering services or products that meet local needs, these types of farm contribute to territorial development and enhance the resilience of rural regions. So let's now have a look at some forms of diversification. For example, agritourism. We already mentioned it before. So agritourism is one of the most prominent forms of income diversification in agriculture. In Italy, for example, it has a lot of success and it's highly appreciated both by the farmers and the consumers, the citizens. Agritourism merges farming activities with tourism, hospitality, and cultural experiences, offering farm stays, local food tasting, hands-on workshops, and educational tour. These activities not only provide additional income, but also play a vital role in reconnecting urban dwellers with rural life and agricultural traditions. Recent studies highlight that agritourism's effectiveness in revitalizing rural areas, especially in regions rich in landscape and cultural heritage, by creating employment, preserving local identities, and supporting sustainable territorial development. So, as we said, agritourism has multiple functions that goes from the economic to the social and cultural ones. Let's now have a look at another form of income diversification, which is direct selling. We also briefly mentioned this one before. So direct selling is another widely adopted strategy and includes farmers market, but also community supported agriculture schemes and on-farm shops. Have you ever heard of community supported agriculture? This is a type of system, a type of scheme that helps a lot the farmers, because basically the consumers, the community of consumers support and finance directly and funds directly the the farmer at the beginning of the growing season. So the community of consumers comes together with the farmer or the farmers. They understand, they decide what the production costs for that year will be, and they decide which amount of money is needed to finance the farmer activities for that year. So they put together the money, and then the farmer can start the growing season without asking the bank or other entities to provide them with this money. So they start with a higher economic stability at the beginning of the year. They cannot ask for debts with the bank, and they already know who will be buying their products, so they know who they are farming for. Another aspect of community supported agriculture is that very often consumer can contribute to the farming activities, so they can go to the fields and see how the agricultural operations are made, and they can let's say directly help the farmer doing the, yeah, like, I don't know, for example, the plowing, or you putting the cover crops, sowing the cover crops, or harvesting, for example. So they're really participating in the agricultural process. So, going back to direct selling, by selling products directly to consumers, farmers eliminate intermediaries, capturing a greater share of the value chain and enhancing their profit margins. This is very helpful because very often profit margins are a core issue in agricultural production. So this model also helps build trust between producers and consumers, foster transparency in food systems, and shorten the supply chain, an approach increasingly supported by the EU rural development policies. Okay, so before concluding this lesson, I have a few questions for you. I will read them to you one by one. You can pause the video and answer them. Then we'll see the answers together. So, for first question, what does multifunctionality mean in agriculture? Second question, why is it important to recognize the different functional dimensions of agriculture today? Third question, what are some examples of the social and environmental benefits that agriculture can offer? Fourth question, what is the main purpose of the analysis proposed in the chapter from which the text is taken? Fifth question, why does the economic dimension remain central to agricultural multifunctionality? And now, let's look at the answers to the previous questions together. First question, what does multifunctionality mean in agriculture? Multifunctionality describes the multiple roles of agriculture beyond food and fiber production, including economic, environmental, social, and cultural contributions. Why is it important to recognize the different functional dimensions of agriculture today? Because it allows us to rethink the role of agriculture in a rapidly changing world and move towards more sustainable and resilient agricultural systems. Third question, what are some examples of the social and environmental benefits that agriculture can offer? It can help communities to adapt to climate change, preserve biodiversity, support rural livelihoods, and maintain cultural traditions. Then, what is the main purpose of the analysis proposed? To analyze the fourth dimension of agricultural multifunctionality, economic, environmental, social, and cultural, and their joint contribution to rural sustainability. Last question. Why does the economic dimension remain central to agricultural multifunctionality? Ensuring the economic viability of farms is essential to ensuring that they can continue to provide not only productive but also social and environmental benefits to society. Thank you for listening to this lesson and keep learning. Don't miss the next lesson to continue discovering the main aspects of functionality in agriculture. There is still much to learn, and you certainly don't want to miss this opportunity.